Welcome back to Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts a Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant and today we're going to watch American Cops versus Canadian Cops. Let's go ahead on YouTube and Sim and see what the difference is between the two or the similarities.
There are many people these days that will tell you the American dream has for a long time been less of a reality. Canada, on the other, is often depicted as an easier place to have an existence. It's a country with far less of a divide between the rich and poor, and you'll still find it on best quality of life lists somewhere in the top 10. At the same time, the USA makes headlines for such things as having worryingly high crime rates for a developed nation, incredibly high incarceration rates, and a healthcare system that might bankrupt its own citizens. We might be being harsh here, and we certainly aren't saying Canada is a utopia. Alright, so you want to be a cop in the USA. You've done your research, meaning you've seen The Wire, watched all episodes of NYPD Blue, and even stayed up late to watch reruns of Columbo and Cagney and Lacey. You are basically ready to hit the streets, right? Well, we should tell you a few things about what you need to do to become a police officer in America. The good news is that you don't have to be a genius to land the job. It's open to most people, so long as you have some brain power and didn't spend your teens doing hits for the Mexican Mafia. You can get a law enforcement degree, and this should land you better jobs, but you can also apply to be a cop after high school. So to get in, you'll need a high school diploma or a GED, which is considered equal to that diploma. After that, you'll be interviewed and have background checks. If you have a minor offense, you may still get in. You may not have to be super fit, but you'll likely have to be relatively fit. Once you get into the academy, you'll have to pass some kind of entrance exam, such as the law enforcement examination. Then you'll start your training. You'll also have to pass a fitness test or the police physical fitness abilities test. These tests can change depending on where you're training, but you'll mostly have to show you can sprint reasonably fast and able to run 1.5 miles in anywhere from 16 to 20 minutes. But you'll have to show your strength by doing a fairly tricky obstacle course. And on top of that, you'll have to do around 20 push-ups in 1 minute and 30 sit-ups in 1 minute. As we said, this can change depending on the academy. Let's just say you have to be fairly fit to pass, but by no means have to be an exceptional athlete. Training will last around 30 weeks, and even after you've passed, you'll be put on probation for up to 18 months at the department where you'll be working. Over in Canada, you can also start training at age 18, but you cannot hit the streets until you're 19. You'll also need a high school diploma or the equivalent, and during the interview process, you'll have to show good health, both mental and physical. On its website, the RCMP says turning up to the interview looking like you've done nothing but eat donuts and play Grand Theft Auto throughout high school will put you at a distinct disadvantage. You'll also have to pass background checks, and again, a very small infraction in life may not mean you can't get in. Pass the interview and off you'll go to training school for 26 weeks. Yes, again, there will be written tests that should not challenge most who have done okay in high school. As for the fitness test, you'll need to do the physical abilities requirement evaluation, and that will consist of doing an obstacle course, push-ups and pull-ups in a weighted carry, all under a time of 5 minutes and 30 seconds or less, and that's at the start of training. At the end, you'll have to be able to do that same test in less than 4 minutes. So now you're in the force, but what's it like? Well, first of all, how much are you being paid? The amount fluctuates across the USA, but PayScale in 2017 said the average was $44,000 a year for the first 0 to 5 years as a rookie cop. Other sites tell us the starting salary for most cops is closer to $30,000, and it will increase by the year. That might go up to $50,000 between your 5th and your 10th year, but it depends on how well you do. Where you are matters a lot, with sources telling us that the average wage for cops in California is considerably more than double the average for cops in Mississippi. As for Canada, you can check out the job site Indeed and see police officer positions with a yearly wage of around $60,000. After we convert them from Canadian dollars, again, it depends on where you work, but PayScale tells us the average salary when you just join the force is around $37,000. Just like in the US, that can easily go up to $50,000 after a few years. It seems the wages for US cops and Canadian cops are not dramatically different, but which country would be better to work in?
No, so far things are looking like it's pretty much the same. And that is according to what you have to do or what you have to have to become a police officer. It also seems that a rookie police officer makes a little bit more money in America than they do in Canada. Now, I wonder if they're going to go into attitudes of police. Is it different there or is it the same? You know what I mean? That's what I'm really interested in there. You know, how do the police in Canada look at the people? I mean, comment down below. Tell me. You know, okay, like for instance, does the police in Canada see themselves as helping people? Like a cop would stop and help an old lady across the street or help somebody with a broken down car. Because I know I've seen cops drive by people on the highway that are broken down. Don't stop. Would they do that in Canada? You know what I mean? So I guess I'm looking for the human interaction with cops, you know, more than just the how should I put it? What is expected of them physically and as far as education is concerned and all of that. Let's keep going. Maybe they might expunge on that more in the video.
Not dramatically different, but which country would be better to work in? We're told that a big difference in policing is the fact that Canada has a federal criminal code, while in the US things change from state to state. This means in Canada, training and procedures are the same all over, which can make life easier. One website tells us that in Canada, the money for police force comes from taxes, while in the US, part of the money comes from the tickets people have to pay. That website tells us that this has led to a stricter kind of policing in the US, as the force needs to make money. We're told in Canada they call it a police service, while in the US it's called a police force. Canadians adopt a kind of community policing, while in the US the cops are perhaps less part of their communities. Then there's the matter of higher crime rates in the US. We'll let an expert explain. Canadians often point to a single major difference between our two cultures as a starting point. Guns are far more easily available in the United States than in Canada. This environment leads to a tense situation for any police officer, no matter how polite he or she may wish to appear. And this means the US police are not only in more danger, but tend to use a bit more force. We've all seen the videos of perhaps rather over-the-top policing. We might also say that officers are in some part of the US under tremendous stresses, given the number of guns on the street. We're told that US officers use lethal force about 6 times more than the average Canadian cop. The Washington Post told us that in 2015, US police shot and killed close to 1,000 people, while in Canada that number on average was about 15 people a year. Unless you're mentally unhinged, killing people is something you certainly don't want to do. And in the US, as a police officer, it's much more likely that you will. We're told that in 2018, according to the Officer Down Memorial page, 149 deaths of officers occurred in the line of duty. Most were shootings, but cops also perish in car crashes while performing their duties and other ways. Some deaths might just have been accidents, but we're told firearms were involved in most deaths. In comparison, the Canadian Broadcasting Association looked at the Canadian Police Memorial statistics and told us in 2018, since 1975, a total of 284 police officers have died on the job. Of these, 101 were homicide victims, while 88 were killed in vehicle accidents, often while rushing to respond to a call in poor road conditions. We can certainly say that officers in the US have the more dangerous job by a long way. So you're getting a similar wage but have a more chance of killing someone and a more chance of being killed. You're also more likely to have to use force to adopt a more aggressive style of policing, all of which would likely make your job more stressful in the US. That stress is killing officers in the US, we're told. One study cited by Men's Health said the number of officers that took their own lives in 2016 was way more than those who were shot. There's not enough conversation about mental health within police and fire departments, said the study. It depends on where you are, of course. A recent study by the Department of Justice, for instance, said that the suicide rate in the Chicago Police Department was 60% higher than the US average. One officer who worked for the Fresno Police Department said that over his 35-year career, he counted 14 of his colleagues that took their own lives on the job. Apparently, getting the number of officers who do that after retiring is not easy to do. USA Today also reported in 2018 that more officers took their own lives, 148, than died in the line of duty. We can
So, if you listen to the video there, culture have a lot to do with why it is the way it is. Here in this country, there's a gun culture. You know, like I say in a lot of the videos I do, it's not uncommon to see people walk in the grocery store strapped. They're not military, they're not cops, but they're strapped. You know what I mean? Who knows when one of them people are going to just go off, you know? If the cashier says something that he's considered disrespectful, you don't go bam, bam, and start shooting. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, man. When I'm walking, I'm always like looking around, you know? And another honest truth is, I'm actually sort of scared of cops here, you know what I mean? No, I'm not saying there's not good cops. I know, well, the ones I talk to are really good guys, you know what I mean? There's one that work in the grocery store that I work in. He's a really good guy. There's another detective that comes in there. And here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you something about this detective that comes in there. When he was coming in there and he first I first see him going by, he look at me kind of wary. You know what I mean? And I think it's because of my ethnicity and him thinking that I'm going to be hostile towards him because he's a cop. So you see, they have to worry about that. You know what I mean? Because the narrative here is that they're not very fair to people of color or minorities in general. And I've had quite a few run ins with cops for no absolute reason. I don't break the law. You know what I'm saying? I don't get into fights. You know, I'm a lover, not a fighter. You know what I mean? But I've been stopped before, asked me where I'm going, what I'm doing. I'll give you an example. I was walking on the street. There's a street behind me here, a main drag. And there's a college right up there, a university, the one I went to. And all these university kids was walking by, 18 years old, drunk, which is against the law. But the cop stopped me and asked me where I'm going. He's not paying attention to the other kids, and that's because of the difference in ethnicity. That's what I'm thinking. If I stand on the side of the street, cop will roll back and forth, watching to see what I'm doing. I've been pulled over. I walk with my apartment. Cop came up. What's your name? Where you going? What you doing? All I did was walk with my apartment and was going up to the university to take a class. And he jumped out at me. Now, it's the culture, it's the way things are, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's prevalent per se, because generally speaking, I don't have any issues now because they know who I am. I'm the guy that work at the grocery store. I'm 7'1". They don't see me in bars because I don't go out drinking. They don't see me out there carousing with the wrong crowd because I stay away from that. I pretty much stay to myself. And that's where being 7'1" comes into play, because then they know me. I remember one time I walked with my apartment here again, and there was a shooting somewhere. And this woman had that time I had dreadlocks, and I had like colorful green, gold, and red hat on, green, gold, red, and black hat on. And a woman was like, "He did it." And the cop looked over there and saw me and just laughed and went away, because he knew. I man don't do that vibe. I man is all about peace and love and thing. But the culture is what creates the stress and all of that. And nobody's trusting anybody. You know what I mean? Nobody's trusting anybody. Let's keep going here, see what else they got to say.
148, then died in the line of duty. We can likely deduce that being a cop in the USA can be a very stressful job. In Canada in 2018, 9 officers took their own lives. This was high compared to recent years. We might also add here that there are many more cops in the US than there are in Canada. Statistics tell us that there are about 70,000 police officers in Canada, and almost 10 times that amount in the USA. Other stats tell us the USA has considerably more officers per capita than Canada, but Canada has a lot less crime. We might also look at websites that list countries for the worst police brutality, and next to developed countries sometimes stands the USA. We're not going to go into all the reasons why this happens, but we might say that any chance of being part of such brutality might be said to have future negative consequences, not only for the victims but also the perpetrators. Even if they don't get caught, one day it's likely their actions will cause them some amount of unhappiness. Just reading various sites, it seems Canadians in general have more trust in their police. This no doubt makes their job easier. Psychology Today tells us this of U.S. policing. Recent polls suggest that the majority of Americans do not feel that the police are adequately held accountable for their actions, treat racial groups equally, or use the right amount of force. In conclusion, with Canadian police being liked more by those they serve, the fact that they have less chance of being killed, the fact that they deal with less crime and likely suffer less trauma, and the fact that their wages are not too different than their counterparts in the US, we'd say being a cop in Canada is better. Did you find this video interesting? Check out our other video where...
Yep. It's crazy, huh? And I'll be honest with you, man. I mean, the first time I landed in this country and I saw cops with guns, I don't trust anybody with guns. I don't care who you are. They say guns don't kill people. People kill people. Well, if the people don't have the guns ain't gonna kill nobody. Yeah, you could get stabbed or you could get shot, you could get stabbed or beaten to death. But you could still survive a stabbing or survive the rate of survival a stabbing or a beatdown is much higher. Not to mention, you stand a chance of defending yourself. Somebody pull a gun on you, the chances of you defending yourself from a bullet flying straight at you is very little. Now, it took me some while to get used to cops having guns because where I'm from, they didn't. There was a 4 year period there when we had the revolution where some military people were walking around with guns, but I wasn't raised with that kind of stuff around me. You know what I mean? Do I trust cops? I'll have to know the person because it goes from person to person. I've had cops yell at me for no reason. I've even had cops pull guns on me for no reason. Luckily, I'm the calm type, so you know what I mean. Whoa, whoa, buddy, you know what I mean. I'm just chilling here, you know what I mean. But it's quite interesting to see that with less police, less payment, the stress level of police in Canada is less than that of America. Stricter gun laws in Canada, you don't have to worry about that too much. That might change here sometime, but the culture in and of itself will have to change drastically for that to happen, I think. Comment down below, tell me what you think, alright? I'll leave a link in the description to this video. I'll also leave a link to another video that's sort of similar to this one. You could keep watching it, especially my Canadian people. I have a whole playlist of Canadian videos that I've reacted to. Check it out, man. It's pretty cool. Y'all take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings.